if you're interested in creating cool kind of wavy art fair tchotchkes, there you go. But if you want to make a functional portal for your egg box, it's a little bit tougher. I'm furious. I rarely get furious, but this is one of those things that has me up the wall because it's such a simple thing. Hi there, folks. It's been a while since I've posted and updated you on everything that's going on here at the Yosted. And the reason why I haven't posted isn't because there hasn't been anything going on, but rather the opposite. There's been too much going on. Just haven't had time to pick up the camera. It's Work With Me Wednesday. So I'd like to take you around, get some tasks accomplished, and show you some updates of things that have happened since my last post. Most of those things are really good and worth celebrating, but there's a few things that have caused me a profound amount of frustration and are definitely negative things. Maybe some of you folks watching can help with those things. Either way, like I said, it's Work With Me Wednesday, so get your favorite beverage ready. Get ready to work with me because we're gonna jump right into it. Let's start on a very positive note. The breast chicken eggs that we were incubating have hatched out. And out of 14 eggs, we had 8 successful chickens hatch. That's roughly a 60% successful hatch rate. And I'm happy with it. These 8 chicks look great. They look great, they're healthy, they're nice and fluffy. They've been very active and alert, drinking their water and eating their crumbles, everything you'd want from a new batch of chicks. Now these meat chicks will probably stay in here in the brooder for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and then I'm going to move them next door to their coop, their separate coop, which is separate from the rest of the chickens. I'll talk about that here in a minute. One thing I was a little bit concerned about was our previous hatch out that we had with that incubator was 11 out of 12 eggs, and this was only 8 out of 14 eggs. What happened? I really honestly think that the humidity level was a little bit off. It was a lot more humid in the house because of the warmer weather, and I don't think the humidity sensor on the incubator was quite accurate. So I think that had a hand in what our ultimate hatch rate was. If the humidity sensor was on point, I could have adjusted as necessary, and I think we would have had a higher hatch rate. So all that being said, I think I'm going to pay more attention to the humidity rate, maybe get a separate humidity reader in the future for future hatch outs. But I'm not terribly upset. I think 8 chicks to start my meat chicken batch with the breast chickens is a great start. There'll undoubtedly be at least a rooster or 2, maybe hopefully more, that I can use as kind of the patriarchs to start my breast chicken run. I'm going to sample them out, see how they taste, and if I like them, I'm just going to continue to breed the breast chickens. So all in all, I'm very happy with the yield that we got from those 14 eggs, and thanks, much thanks and gratitude goes to Two Turtles Homestead, Jim and Kathy, for gifting me these chickens, and also to Katie Kramer, who I had some incubation specific questions about, and she helped me out with those. So thanks to all my friends who helped get this breast chicken crew off the ground. Now, I think as many of you know, the brooder is in that stall. I've decided to use the stall next to it as their main coop. I have the Murphy bed that I've created. It's a hanging roost that I can pull off of this hook right there, let it hang, and they can roost on that. We're going to give that a shot. I like it because it allows me to come in here and clean up and gives them more room to nitpick around before they're ready to go outside. Outside, their run will be the north lean-to of our barn. Right now it's filled with machinery and bric-a-brac and generators and mowers and the greenhouse that I moved back from the garden. All that's going to be cleared out. And this is going to be their permanent run. Now, I've had some folks ask me, why am I keeping a stationary run for meat chickens? Why am I not using the Joel Salatin method of moving them around in the tractor on pasture on fresh green grass? And there's a couple of answers for that. So prior to this, when I did my last full meat chicken run a couple years ago, I did use the A-frame as the tractor, and I moved those chickens around on the pasture. But with the size of this flock, there's 8 chickens total, this whole space, I don't think will get too crowded. I think they'll have plenty of fresh grass to graze on. I don't think that there will be a major issue with roaching out the ground. I think that they'll have more than enough forage just for the 8 of them. As long as I have that, as long as they have access to fresh grass on a regular basis, that's all that I'm concerned about for this small batch of meat chickens. I've already ordered the fence that I'll use to shape out their run. It's a Premier One electric fence, much like the other fence that I have on the south end with that barnyard, with that poultry run. One of the things I'd like to do is actually have their fence come over here to the compost run. If it doesn't reach, I'll probably just pick up the compost run and move it over. So they'll have access to the compost and they'll be able to turn and work the compost for us. That'll make an even better compost pile than we have currently. And I will make sure to keep the fence out of the orchard area, which I'll definitely discuss later. I'm very excited about these chickens to see what they'll taste like. I've heard a lot of good things about this breed. I'm also excited to kind of be starting a breeding program where I kind of control all the inputs, get an occasional new rooster here and there, but for the most part, I control the inputs and have a ready-made supply of really good farm fresh chicken meat that we've raised ourselves. In the future, I'm certainly open to using the pasture tractor moving Joel Salatin method if I get more and the space I have here isn't enough to contain them. Now, I have a few weeks before the breast chickens are going to be living here in their coop. There's a few things I still need to take care of and finalize. One is putting up some border flashing, whatever you want to call it, some wood borders on the edge of the chicken wire here, and then where the chicken wires overlap. There's 2 different panels of chicken wire where they overlap. I'd like to also put some more wood borders just to keep curious critters from moving the chicken wire around. And the other thing I'd like to do is actually put in an egg box. This isn't as urgent, but it's something I want to do because it involves demolition of the barn. I think this spot, which used to be part of the hay crib for hooved animals that lived in this stall, this spot is actually great for an actual egg box. So what I'm going to need to do, I think my first move is to cut out this area right here, which is complicated a little bit by the fact of this sheet metal panel that I put up when we had our piglets in here. So I'm going to try and cut this down, open up this wood with the Sawzall. Wish me luck. Let's get to it. thing I love about a Sawzall is you can attack basically anything. It's perfect for demo. The thing I don't like about the Sawzall is that it's imprecise, and you'll get waves and it'll drift on you. And so if you're interested in creating cool kind of wavy art fair tchotchkes, there you go. But if you want to make a functional portal for your egg box, it's a little bit tougher. I'll probably have to come in here and sand some of the imperfections here when I start to build out the egg box. The next step is going to be getting the wood together that I'm going to use to build the box. It'll probably come out to about maybe a foot, foot and a half, maybe even 2 feet out from the barn itself, and we'll have a lid. I may have 2 chambers in there for 2 separate laying boxes, and I'd like to preferably use wood from the barn. I've got so much old wood up in the hayloft that was used for building this barn that's left over. I think it would look cool if we kept that theme and we still had the same wood as we build this thing out, so it wouldn't look too jarringly different when it's sticking out here. I think it'll be a good solution for those meat birds as a way to collect their eggs. More good news, a good update. We've officially started our garden, and it's going to be a little bit smaller scale than previous years. We'd like to keep some beds open that we'd normally plant squash at this point of the year. I'll probably fill those beds with buckwheat as a cover crop. We may or may not plant squash later in the season, maybe July or August, kind of a fall harvest for our squash. As many of my longtime viewers know, we've dealt with squash bugs every single year that have just utterly destroyed our squash crop about halfway through the first part of the season. So we're going to try something different. What have we got going on right now? We got sweet potatoes, we got okra from seed, we got beans from seed, we've got some tomatoes, peppers, lots of peppers, and of course a lot of greens growing in our greens beds that we just started from seed. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. Everything's in the ground. It's officially garden season. We don't have to worry about frosts anymore. And I'm also quite pleased with the amount of compost that we have, just from leftover bonus compost that I mentioned in previous videos, as well as our kind of curated compost that we've been working on and adding to with kitchen scraps and bric-a-brac, blood from slaughters, things like that, ash. That compost is wonderful stuff, and we do use it. We do try and use that as kind of an inoculant on all of our new plants. Now, the primary issue that I wanted to address in today's video, in the hope that one of my viewers has some idea of something I can do, some semblance of a solution, it involves my mower. Now, this mower, we do far more than just mow with it. We hitch up a wheelbarrow to this thing and we use it to get around the homestead. This is multifunctional. It has a lot of uses, and unfortunately, right now, it's out of commission. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about this lifestyle and starting the homestead and learning lots of new skills just to be a competent smallholder, a competent homesteader, is mechanical stuff. I was never really a huge mechanic, but with all of the different mechanical tools that you have on the homestead, chainsaws, tractors, mowers, you learn to be somewhat proficient in it. You need to be, otherwise you'd just be hauling off your gear off homestead all the time to get little things fixed for you. It's a very important skill to have, to be able to be somewhat mechanically competent. If you have a homestead, if you have any machinery whatsoever, you're going to need to know how to turn a wrench here and there. And typically with this mower, I've been really good about that. Changing the mower belt on the bottom, changing the oil of the thing, lubing up the grease points, doing minor mechanical work on the engine itself. All of that's been a breeze. There's been no problems with it. However, recently, in the past week, the drive belt, some people call it the transmission belt, slipped off of the spindle. And there is literally no way to get it on without taking this whole engine apart, and it's driving me nuts. I have never been more frustrated by something that's so simple, that should only take 3 seconds, but yet I have to upend the entire engine of this thing just to do something that simple. I get so angry just talking about it, just thinking about it. Here's an analogy. Say you had a very bright light above your bed in your bedroom and you wanted to turn the light off, but the light switch was behind a metal guard, behind a metal basket. And so you couldn't reach in to turn the light switch off, but that metal basket was welded to the wall. And so the only way to get to that light switch is to take apart the entire wall and do demo work just to turn off the light switch. That's the problem that I'm experiencing with this drive belt. And if I sound passionate, if I sound really upset, I am, because there's not even instructions in the manual for this Cub Cadet mower to change the drive belt. And it makes me wonder, did they set this up like this intentionally in a way to get you to go in and service it? Because I've tried everything and I have no solutions, and that's where hopefully maybe you guys can come in. Let me show you what I'm dealing with. So as you can see, this belt right here is the transmission belt, the drive belt, and normally it goes around this portion of the spindle. If this belt is not on that portion of the spindle, then you can't shift your gears. Your engine can start, but you can't go anywhere. You're just sitting there running your engine. This belt runs the mower deck. Fair enough, that's easy to contend with. But this thing, you need this on there to go. Now, what's the problem, you might say? Why can't you just slip it in? Well, let me show you. You'll note that there's these, see if I can get my hand out of the way. There's these metal guards around the spindle. So you can't just pull the belt out and slip it on. You can't do that because they have these metal guards. And I get why they have the metal guards. If this fell out of place all the time, it could cause serious issues. So I kind of understand why they have these metal guards. However, what do you do to get this belt back on? Well, you might say, take this bolt, drop the spindle, and slip it back on. This bolt will not come down. No matter what I try, this bolt will not come down. I use the impact driver, the DeWalt impact driver, and then an impact driver hooked up to compressed air, so super powerful. Even that wouldn't bring this bolt down. There must be some sort of Loctite on this thing because it will not drop. When you are able to get a lock on it, the spindle spins. There's nowhere to seize up the spindle to stop it from spinning unless you want to get really crazy. And yo folks, I got crazy. I pulled the spark plug out and I stuck a rope into the cylinder. I turned the engine from up top so that once the cylinder was at the downstroke, I put the rope in and then I turned it some more and it seized it up so that spindle wouldn't turn anymore. I was finally able to get a lock on that bolt. It still would not budge. Impact drivers, breaker bars, nothing turned it. I was starting to get a little bit of turn, but I think it was starting to shear the bolt. It was stripping it out. So I'm at a loss of what to do. I have no clue for how to do something so simple. Just slip the drive belt back onto that spindle. It's driving me nuts. I'm going to try one more thing. Dad's going to help me out. And that's actually lift the engine off the block. There's only 4 bolts that hold the engine to the block. I'm going to lift it off the block. I'll probably need to get in here and loosen this muffler shroud so this will move with it. And then push the engine forward. What is that, 1/2 inch? My hope is that by pushing the engine forward, or backwards rather, just that 1/2 inch, that would be enough for me to get down there and move the spindle forward just enough to slip this belt on. And if that doesn't work, I'm not sure what other options I have other than to get it taken in somewhere, get a trailer, find some place that services these things and get it checked. It infuriates me because, again, part of me wonders if there's some sort of planned obsolescence thing, and it really makes you wonder, are they trying to rip you off? I wonder about it. Maybe not. Maybe I'm missing something very apparent that I haven't tried yet that I can do to drop that spindle or move it back ever so slightly, get it out of the way of those guards, and slip the drive belt on. Now, for those of my viewers that know small engines, that have experience turning a wrench on little engines like this, and I'm missing something, please let me know, because it is driving me crazy and I'm furious. I rarely get furious, but this is one of those things that has me up the wall because it's such a simple thing and you can't just slip it on. You got to take apart an engine just to put a tiny little belt back into the spindle groove. Whew, I need to take a deep breath because in the grand scheme of things, this is small potatoes. I can borrow my dad's mower. I can do work with the tractor. All of that stuff's working fine. But it's really frustrating when such an important piece of your homestead infrastructure is hobbled by something so minuscule and so tiny, but you have to take apart the entire piece of equipment just to fix it. If I'm missing something, if there's something I haven't tried, before I actually lift the engine off the engine block and try and move it that way, please let me know, guys, because I'm gonna explode if I don't get this thing fixed soon. Well, that's the update for today. Like I said, it's been a little while since I posted last. Progress is being made. Slowly, progress is being made, and I'm very excited about our meat chicken program. I'm excited about our young, burgeoning orchard, and I'm excited about actually making progress here. It's spring, things are moving, and I'm very optimistic. Thanks for hanging out with us this week, as always, and until we see you again next time, remember, as always, slowly.